downed tree crushing an Amazon truck, the driver needing help to escape. Lightning sparking fires, the alerts for a coast-to-coast heat wave, heat indexes topping 100 degrees in the east, and the west on notice with warnings, alerts, and fire danger.
Urgent manhunt for the suspect police say killed his own father, then set his home on fire. Now considered armed and dangerous. Where he was last seen.
Chilling video showing the terrifying moments that an Idaho driver.
It requires a lot of dedication, requires a lot of integrity and resilience. This particular rescue, the radical form, really exemplifies what we're looking for in a safe harbor.
And you couldn't let go for an instant. If you let go for 1 instant, you'd be very hard to find, right?
Absolutely. In those conditions, everything would be disastrous.
You have no idea that. Hello, let's go. Senator Cruz. Well, thank you very much. Dinner hour, right? Very good job. And Mike. Senator Cruz, thank you very much. Well, we're honored to have all of you. And again, what you did was incredible, and everybody saw it. And you'd like to know, remember, I know when I first started, I said, roll that back. And you were and your father was happy and man for it. And I asked him the question, I said, well, if that didn't happen, why don't you go?
Привет. Че, как дела у всех? Volkswagen у нас поло. Дверь такая помятая. Провозиться придется.
Drug dealing, everything was we have one of the safest, we've taken it from one of the most unsafe cities in the country to as safe a city as there is.
Arguments are expected to begin next week in the federal case against Meta. Attorneys general from 29 states are accusing the social media company of purposely designing its apps to be addictive for young users. The lawsuit points to features like push notifications and infinite scrolling. Meta's calling those allegations unsubstantiated and says the state attorney general is chasing, quote, an outlandish payout. Earlier this year, a Los Angeles jury found Meta and Google YouTube prohibited for developing apps that harmed a now both Meta and Google appealed that decision. The University of Michigan is dropping letter grades for first semester freshmen. Instead, first semester transcripts will show pass or no credit. Part of the university that runs both urban and small crisis unfolding among college students is something in the fall of 2020. Property may be at risk. An ABC News investigation examines flood maps, maybe leaving homeowners unvaccinated in roads. ABC News chief Peter
Всем привет, сейчас покажу повреждения. Попотеть придется, короче. Так. А? Как она? Ну, еще и внизу. Короче, работа до хера. Спасибо за лайки, кто поддерживает рабочий класс, так сказать. Трудящихся людей, таких как я, позитивных, таких, я не знаю, десяток на планете Земля. Ну да ладно. Лайк вам. Все, обнял до хруста, до протрузии и, естественно, до грыжи. Я пошел работать, если что, лайкосики не забывайте. Всем хорошего дня и больше прибыли. Как я и всегда говорил, ты справишься. Блин, ты знаешь, все как хотят казаться блогеры уверенными, самоуверенными, а я такой, какой есть. Мне иногда кажется, что у подписчиков больше уверенности во мне, потому что я иногда сомневаюсь, понимаешь? То есть такие проекты, хер его знает, получится, не получится. Но Антон заходит, а Антон заявляет, желает, лайкос вверх ставит и в добрый путь отправляет. Так что все, короче, сомнения нахер ушли. Четко к работе. Спасибо, Антон, удачи тебе. Погнали. Нехер тут базарить мне. Ставим лайки. Спасибо, 31 в эфире. Спасибо, спасибо, Дмитрий. Так, вкусно. Так, Дмитрия видел на моем эфире. Ребят, помните, я дверь делал Volkswagen Jetta, там сверхпрочная сталь, 7-я, под покраску. Получилось, все, ребята покрасили. Оригинальная дверь стоит $1000, блин. Оригинальная Jetta 7-я, Тайвань $300. Но Тайвань меньше весит, быстрее гниет, она как холодец. Так что, как бы сейчас пошли фольцы с другим сплавом металла. И, конечно же, PDR, даже грубая рихтовка под покраску будет выгоднее, чем заказать какое-то говно и покрасить. Ты даже когда открываешь двери не оригинальные Тайвань, вес меньше, оно чувствуется. А вторые двери оригинальные, то есть у тебя уже какое-то непонимание, как это, блин, одна тачка, разные по весу двери. Так что тот проект получился. Все, Дмитрий, Антон, спасибо. Погнали, погнали.
Welcome back. Get ready to enter the surreal world of reborn dolls. They're incredible extras and cost sometimes thousands of dollars. And many who collect them even keep them in intricate nurseries and treat them like actual children.
Мужики, Audi Q5 не надо, никому нет. В хорошем состоянии, беленькая, кто из Украины. 16,5, я думаю, за 16 человек отдаст. Сейчас скажу, 140 тысяч пробег оригинальный. Америкос, немножечко битый, но нормально, не тотал. Если что, пишите. Год. Сейчас тебе скажу. Сейчас вспомню. У меня в телефоне есть. Короче, это мой знакомый. Он спрашивал меня, за сколько можно продать. Он выставил уже... Сейчас. 17-й вроде бы. Блин, надо посмотреть будет. Одинаковый вес, не нужно рассказывать лично, для интереса взвешивал капот и бампер. А на какой тачке ты взвешивал? На какой машине ты взвешивал? Понимаешь, не бывает чудес. Капот на Volkswagen Passat B9 очень тяжелый, стоит штуку баксов. Или даже чуть больше. Тайванский, когда едешь, он как холодец. Так что давай, наверное, будем конкретно о какой тачке идет речь. И о какой год, какое поколение. Если ты раз это сделал, это не показатель того, что во всех сценариях. B7, Volkswagen B7. Ну, B7, возможно, одинаковый вес. А вот я тебе сейчас скажу, Денис, я с тобой поспорю сейчас. Только ты должен мою информацию проверить, а потом будешь отвечать, хорошо? B7 вес двери ниже, чем у B9. А вот когда ты Volkswagen Passat B9 возьмешь на перепродажу, если ты занимаешься перепродажей, и ты взвесишь дверь или капот Тайвань и оригинал, вот тогда мне еще раз напишешь. И это касается Volkswagen Jetta 7. Почему? Потому что там уже идет другой сплав, другой металл. И детали дороже в 2 раза. Потому что еще B7, там реально можно было что Тайвань, что бэушную деталь в хорошем состоянии за одну цену взять. То сейчас эта разница, вот эта маржа в 2 раза больше. Именно из-за нового сплава металла. Я тебе как ПДРщик скажу. Давай ты это проверишь, а потом ответишь. Женя, привет, бро.
And a reborn artist herself.
Все, я лучше дальше пойду. Специалист от Бога. Ой, Денис, будь здоров, алаверды. А ты чем занимаешься?
This may seem confusing or just plain weird.
Я жестянкой занимаюсь 23 года, а ты сравнение 6 сам не понял, наверное, что сказал. Ой, Денис, good luck, удачи тебе. Все, не вопрос, я ж тебя убеждать не буду в обратном. Я поднимал дверь B7 снимал и B9, это разные двери. Кстати, это у меня был американец, а у тебя какой? Может, у тебя европеец, да? И так, ну ты тоже, получается, от Бога. 23 года. Серьезный стаж. Так, Матвей, да, привет, привет. Как дела у тебя? Денис, вообще без аргументов. Слушай, Денис, ну я понял, ты парень умный, наверное, самый умный. Слушай, я даже больше чем уверен. А почему тогда цена на дверь или на капот B7, B9 тупо в 2 раза? Ну, просто потому что новая или все-таки там другой сплав, а за счет сплава и другой вес? А? Ну, впрочем, я тебя не буду задерживать. Давай, удачи. Слушай, Дениска, а, блин, ты уже ушел или нет? Украинец, а при чем здесь украинец? Ну, здесь же политические темы запрещены. Ну, ты не в курсе, наверное? Я на политику не общаюсь. Ну, я это дерьмо не развожу. Ну, да ладно, короче, все. Так, волну разбили, теперь много точек, их нужно поднимать крючком, то есть много таких вмятин. Сейчас еще немного горбы, и я вам покажу эту стиральную доску.
This is what you need to know.
Welcome back. Danny Ocean is one of the biggest stars in Latin America, Venezuela.
Все, переходим на крючочек. Сейчас я покажу, в каком состоянии.
Talk about his billions of streams, World Cup performance, and brand new EP at the Rivers just now.
Так,
Danny Ocean is riding
сейчас я покажу.
just 10 years.
Видите, как стиральная доска и вмятинки пошли. Так, вот эти вмятинки покрупнее, чтобы не давить крючочком, давайте холодным клеем дернем. Уберем как можно больше средних вмятин и крупных. А потом переключимся на крючочек и уже будем зачищать.
And his biggest single yet, went from viral song to one of the top Latin hits of all time. So. This year, he's hitting even more milestones. We were able to sit down with Danny right before he kicked off his European tour.
Ребят, кто по PDR, короче, занимается, я новые грибки сегодня получил. Сейчас я покажу. Так, где мои коллеги? Ну, коллеги, а не хейтеры, я имел в виду. С непонятной самооценкой. Короче, смотрите. Вот такие грибочки пришли. Потом, опа, просмотры пошли. Любим распаковочки, да? Вот такие грибочки. Все для градовых тачек. Я надеюсь, все-таки осень будет градовая и как можно больше побьет градовых тачек. И как можно больше мне ко мне обратятся по восстановлению. Ну, это ж моя работа. По-другому никак. Смотрим дальше. И самые ходовые, ребят, это вот эти. Кто из Украины, моим подписчикам скидочка. И насадочки на карандашик, чтоб не херить лакокрасочное покрытие. Ну и в принципе все то же самое. Сейчас посмотрим, что-то новенькое может быть. Вот. Короче, разновидность всякого дерьма набрал. Ну, теперь будем тестировать.
Danny wrote and produced the EP himself with somehow artificial intelligence.
How do you actually use it for your work?
I began throwing out my demos into it, you know? I began with old demos. And I was like, you know what? Let's try this song in reggae. Let's try this song in salsa. So AI gives me that perspective, you know. in
Брат в
fast
восторге.
way. Because if
Big
not,
brother
I'm
watcher
gonna
for us.
maybe 3 days trying to lay down, you know,
Брат
reggae,
точно что в
you know,
восторге.
Might not get it right.
And still might not get it right, that's right.
Babylona Blue also features major collaborations, including Timbaland on Don't Stop and prominent Colombian rapper Ryan Castro on Desahogate. The song has already racked up millions of streams just 1 month after its release.
When did you first fall in love with music?
Since I was a kid, man, that was my dad. He's a producer. He's a music producer. I think music comes in my family, you know, and I just learned how to do it in my own space, in my own, like in my bedroom, and that's where I started. Just everything grew up once I left Venezuela, to be honest.
Danny grew up in Caracas, but at 15, he took a leap of faith and immigrated to Miami. By day, he worked at a pizza shop, but off the clock, he was pouring his heart into a song that would soon change his destiny. He named it Mere Uso.
So I did that song with the Valentine's gift for somebody that I had to leave behind, you know, and this mixed feeling was having to leave my country and move to the States for a better future, right? And the song just began growing up. I remember 11,000 views because that's what, one day I was getting into YouTube and it had 11,000. I was like, what the hell is happening with this song?
Mere Uso became a global sensation, one of the most recognizable Latin hits of its generation. And he did it all without a label or a studio. It's a song born from heartbreak that went viral. The song has 2.5 billion streams on Spotify. And the video, over 2 billion views on YouTube. In the decades since Mere Uso, Danny has released 6 studio albums and received 3 Latin Grammy nominations. He's also collaborated with some of the biggest artists in the world, like Ed Sheeran and Coldplay.
Is anyone that you're dying to collaborate with?
I like that funk a lot. I don't know together anymore, you know.
But Danny Ocean over like a proper dance record? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
If there is one thing Danny has proven, it's that nothing is off. He just wrapped a month-long tour in Europe, visiting 5 different countries. As the tour was winding down, 2 earthquakes hit Venezuela. From the road, Danny using his platform to share resources with his millions of followers. And announced that he would donate proceeds from the tour to those affected. He's been out of Venezuela for 11 years, but his connection to the country remains strong. In his song Escapa Panama, he talks about longing for a free Venezuela. The song is part of his album Venequia, one of his most politically charged projects, where he explores the themes of displacement, identity, and homeland.
As someone who's been anointed by the industry in so many ways as like one of the next big stars, it's so easy to ignore a lot of these issues, right? Why is it important for you to keep speaking out?
If I have this platform, if I was blessed with this platform, and I see that my home country is going through what it's going through, you know, like, why would I not talk about it?
When Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado asked him to perform at the ceremony celebrating her Nobel Peace Prize last year, he said yes, without thinking twice.
That was the most nervous moment in my life.
More than the World Cup?
More than the World Cup.
Wow.
Yes. I was just shaking, all my body was shaking, you know, because I knew it was a very big cultural, big moment for my country, you know, and for the freedom of my country and for what we stand for.
You're going to ask yourself, are you getting the fundamentals? Are you getting enough sleep, 7 to 9 hours a night? I'm speaking to all 3 of you. And that's why I started started with it. Are you getting enough important diet, heart healthy diet, minimizing processed and ultra processed foods? And are you getting physical activity? And if you're not able to reach your goals by even trying that at home by yourself, understand that these are systems and problems that you should bring to your doctor, because it's just like high blood pressure or cholesterol. If you can't reach your goals by yourself, that's where medicine comes into play.
And what other metrics besides these can people monitor at home to reduce their risk of cardiovascular?
You know, so aside from taking fundamentals, talking to your doctor about your blood pressure, your cholesterol.
Так, привет, Ромка. Вижу, зашел, сразу лайк закинул. Короче, отдыхаю. Сейчас Майн играет. Отлично, братишка, удачи. У тебя там что, новости, что ли? Какие новости? Ты о чем? У меня американский гараж, братишка. Я на слух воспринимаю английскую речь. Пытаюсь интегрировать в свой мозг. Воспринимать, понял? Переключай. Так, Рома, как вчера день провел? Что собираешься делать сегодня?
New Mexico, Michigan, and Virginia round out the voting. Black and Latino voters and union members are also key demographics in those states.
And a breathtaking debut for Cardinals rookie right fielder Joshua Baez. Saturday in his first major league at bat, he hit the first pitch out of the park. Then he hit a home run at his second at bat. Then in the sixth, yes, another home run. If you're counting a home, that's 3. No one has ever done that before in Major League Baseball in their debut. His Cardinals went on to beat the Cubs 8-4.
Baez won to watch.
Yep.
And Rossi, the wrong way turtle, is almost back home. After a 5,000-mile journey, there's Rossi right there. The endangered sea turtle was swept away from the Gulf of Mexico and washed up on a UK beach in 2023. Yes. He was then nursed back to health in a zoo in Wales. Now, after a transatlantic flight, he is in
Houston, and the veterinary team there is working to eventually return him to the Gulf.
That is quite the detour.
Yes.
It really is. I love that he flew back though.
Yeah, let's do a shorter trip, please. All right, now to D23, celebrations of all things Disney happening now. Yesterday, Ginger told us about big movies and TV shows on the way, and this morning, she is bringing us all the news about Disney parks. Ginger, good morning.
Darling, I must go. It's wonderful to be with you. I was just getting in the mood because of all that amazing Glenn Close update yesterday from D23. She is reprising that role of Cruella de Vil, so we are in her world here on the floor at D23. It's been more than 25 years since she did that, and it's been forever since we've had a villain plan. So updates there and updates
Сейчас,
to
ребят,
other
на
parts
холодный
of the
клей
parks around
перескочу.
the world. Disney pulling out all of the stops. And stars.
Meet the lovely Cruella de Vil.
Revealing the most exciting Disney experiences coming around the world.
We're getting all the updates, shows, cruise liners, and the latest designs and rides and attractions.
Neil Patrick Harris taking fans on a carousel of progress.
I've known a few things, but I'm a magician by hobby, and I'm partly by trade. So keeping secrets is kind of what I do.
We are imagining an even greater, an even bigger, an even more beautiful tomorrow. I say, let's stop dreaming, shall we?
Disney's brightest Imagineers gracing the stage all night. The fans asked, and they delivered.
I think it's time to renew that promise once again in a way that deeply honors the original and imagines the future with optimism. And that starts with Tomorrowland. Yes, we are taking a new journey into imagination at Epcot with Figment. I know that roar. That's right, we're bringing the Yeti back to life inside.
Something wicked this way comes. Villains land in Magic Kingdom.
Let's go and leave these two to work on the opening of my ride.
Have Glenn Close give us an update. What are the villains that are going to be featured?
Oh my gosh, in Villains Land, there's a Maleficent coaster.
Yes.
It's a second attraction. It's going to have all sorts of different villains within it. More of a dark ride, that'll be exciting.
And Marvel with some new adventures with Earth's mightiest heroes coming to the parks in the States.
We built this place to recruit, inspire, and train the next generation. You're a big part of that mission.
And overseas.
We're going to go to Asgard, we're going to go to Wakanda, the first land anywhere in the world dedicated exclusively to Spider-Man.
Some exciting updates on the rides coming to Disney Animal Kingdom.
Our attraction will be called Indiana Jones and the Myth of the Jade Serpent.
For the first time ever, I'm the actual model of the Indiana Jones animatronic. Here are snakes included.
As for the Encanto fans,
it is my great pleasure to reveal the name, which is Antonio's Fiesta de Encanto.
And there are more than 50 animals throughout the entire attraction.
all aboard for Disney Cruise Line's newest ship, the Disney Believe.
Moana will be the grand hall icon of the Disney Believe.
When Monstropolis opens its doors at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Why don't we just open it early, like say, next year?
Under construction now.
Oh yeah, no, it's real, it's happening. There's going to be a proper coaster that you're going to be able to, there's a door coaster, you lift it up, shot all around.
Speaking of thrills, a new off-roading Cars adventure is speeding into Walt Disney World.
You're going to race your way down Piston Peak, but you're going to want to make sure you hold on tight.
They're like, want people to have authentic, immersive experiences unlike anything that they've had before.
D23 is not over yet. This afternoon, we will watch an entire new class of Disney legends be inducted into the Legends Hall of Fame there. So Bob Iger, Dwayne Johnson, Anne Hathaway, I get to talk to all of them this afternoon. I'll bring that to you tomorrow morning on GMA. And can I just tell you guys one more very cool fact? Samantha, my producer, was back at the park. We went yesterday, but she went back to just check it out. As those announcements were being made, people were finding out in real time and reacting like, yes, we're getting a new Tomorrowland. Like, yes, it was really beautiful to watch all of the biggest Disney fans get that news right here.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
There's a reason Disney's known for its magic.
Yeah.
It's right there. We just saw
Absolutely,
it.
you're bringing it to us. Thank you, Ginger.
Great job, Ginger.
Now on GMA here with a big change coming to some of your favorite candies. So M&M's, Skittles, and Starburst, they're getting a whole new look. The candy giant Mars is removing the food dyes from these colorful candies, and this comes amid the FDA's push for the dyes to be phased out. But will they taste the same, right? That's the question here. And our Rebecca Jarvis actually went to the lab to find out.
The iconic candies getting a makeover. M&M's, Skittles, and Starburst are available without artificial food dyes. What is the biggest challenge of changing the colors?
I think it's twofold. I think it's the vibrancy, and I think it's the scale.
Candy maker Mars giving GMA an exclusive look inside their labs and factories across the country to see how the new recipes, incorporating colors found in nature, like beet juice for red, turmeric for yellow, and a combination of those plus spirulina for green, came to be. Obviously, some people like the idea that you're changing the ingredients, but when they pick up an M&M, they want it to look and feel the same as it always has.
We've actually talked to over 13,000 consumers in the past year about this conversation exactly. And the good news is they're really open to the tone, hue changing slightly. What they're absolutely not open to is the taste changing.
So we suited up to put taste to the test in the company's R&D kitchen.
We're going to start with M&M's. I'm going to put a couple in your hand.
Tastes like I remember.
Now we have sample 2.
Sample number 2.
Hit you with the...
I will say, I cannot tell any difference between the two.
And that is what our consumers said too.
These new M&Ms produced here in Hackettstown, New Jersey, but even after decades of work, 2 colors have been tougher to crack, brown and blue.
Blue is the challenge. There aren't very many blue vegetables. We're using something called spirulina. That spirulina is a tricky thing to handle at scale. But I want to reassure everybody they're not going away.
At the Skittles factory here in Waco, Texas, perfecting the purple color with purple grape proved to be the biggest challenge.
The challenge came in the variability of the color from batch to batch. These were all made with the same formula, so the variability was coming from the process. So our research and development teams had to work in the factory looking at different process variables to get the color to be very consistent.
Mars isn't the only company hard at work in the factory. The FDA is working to phase out artificial food dyes, and more companies have pledged to do it.
I think a large part of the motivation from companies to remove these food dyes from their products is from the public, with more information coming in about the possible links to poor outcomes like cancer.
That was so fascinating. Yeah, you tried that.
We did a taste test here, and I can tell you, that, like, we did the M&Ms exactly the same, to me. So I was surprised when I opened my eyes and saw that they were different. But it was good stuff. And as Dr. Sutton was pointing out there, you know, a lot of this coming from public demand. They want to see
exactly.
this.
Exactly. All right, that was really fascinating. Rebecca, thank you for that. All right, coming up here on Good Morning America, the new set jetting trend, visiting the locations of your favorite movies. Come on back.
We are back now with the new travel trend, set jetting. Visiting the locations of some of your favorite movies and TV shows. Will Gans checked it out. We were disappointed you didn't coin the term set jetting.
I have a lot of good terms going on up here, but not all of them are Will Gans originals, all right? You remember when New Zealand was all the rage because of Lord of the Rings, and then Sicily and the White Lotus Season 2? Well, now, searches on TikTok are up 1,000% for the city of Milan, Italy, thanks to a certain high-fashion sequel that filmed there. That's all. From
From Lady Gaga to Miranda Priestley, nothing is more en vogue than a trip to Milan right now.
Maryland, the gallery, it's one of the most beautiful shops I've ever seen. The hardest thing about shooting Milan was walking in stilettos on the cobblestones. And I'd like to see Travis Kelce do that.
Maybe not Travis, but plenty of fans are flocking to Milan thanks to the Devil Wears Prada too.
I am the new features editor at Redway.
No, you're not.
Tourism in the Italian city up 18% since the movie came out, with an estimated 1.5 million international tourists visiting during the summer quarter, and more than 450,000 in August alone.
You have this resurgence of nostalgia travel and set jetting really taking hold of the culture and zeitgeist.
Set jetting, fans visiting the filming locations of their favorite movies and TV shows, from The White Lotus causing a 300% increase in tourism to Thailand.
You can imagine, it's a whole thing.
And Game of Thrones becoming the reason 1 in 6 visitors to Northern Ireland traveled there in the first place.
If I want to have a Miranda Priestley experience in Milan on maybe an Andy Sachs budget,
Короче,
what tips do you have for making that
холодный
trip
клей
reality?
вязкий стал.
Consider flying into Rome,
Пришлось
which
убирать
has so many flights per day,
не таким
as well as
вязким, ну,
some
в общем,
budget
битумный
cruise.
клей. Холодный тяжело убирается. Все, я пока не буду пользоваться. Пусть температура гаража, короче, понизится, кондерчик включил, тогда будет лучше с ним работать. В принципе, крючком дальше поработаю, нормально будет. Ромка, ничего страшного, в магазин ходил, ничего.
And thank you so much for starting your day with us.
Yes, don't forget, you can catch more Weekend News coverage over on ABC News.
I'll be there.
Right, we will be there.
Barry.
All right, have a great day, everybody. Hope you enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Bye. Have a good week.
ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast, now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted, now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, the fast-moving wildfires tearing through multiple states. Nearly 100 large fires are burning, including this major blaze near Reno, Nevada. Evacuations are being ordered for people and animals. Tens of thousands of firefighters are battling the flames. Also, the extreme heat. More than 70 people were treated for heat-related illness in Colorado alone. Our weather team is tracking it all. Plus, the deepening drought in Puerto Rico. Rotating water shutoffs after the island suffered through its driest July on record. Also tonight, the deadly accident in New York Harbor. A speedboat flipped, killing a mother and a 5-month-old baby. The boat's captain...
Короче, живу в Нью-Йорке, как сам хоть, а то ушел бы, так и не услышал. Все зашибись, Ромка, у меня все отлично, у меня все по плану. Подписчики растут, канал по чуть-чуть пополняется, стримчики, виду, опыта набираюсь, засранцев тоже достаточно. Иногда заходят, черти пойми, какого мнения о себе, блин. Лишь бы критиковать. А вот сделать, ребят, это другое дело.
Powerball fever without a winner for months. The jackpot's now reached an eye-popping figure. And look out, here comes Spider-Man, single-handedly boosting the summer box office.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay.
Да, Ромка, все правильно.
Tonight with fast-moving wildfires burning across multiple states in the West and Canada. Thousands have been forced to flee their homes. And it's now spread to Nevada. It's racing toward hundreds of homes and businesses.
Мне родители решили улучшить мой ПК. Ромка, а ну как ты его апгрейдишь? Напиши до, какой у тебя ПК, и на какой ты хочешь апгрейдить. Слушай, ну поставь себе уже 12 ядер и карточку 24 гига, оперативочки 64, И SSD-шки 3 терабайта со скоростью сколько? 5000 есть уже скорость? А?
Saturday in Colorado, dozens of people were treated for heat-related illnesses during a festival. And that heat is on the move tonight. ABC's meteorologist Leslie Lopez leads us.
Tonight, the bug fire near Reno, Nevada is burning out of control. Residents are still evacuating
Так, все будет светиться ночью и всегда. Короче, 12 ядер поставим, как я и сказал, поставим 32 оперативки, 32 оперативки там идет. Там по 16. Так, ну понятно, все в ледах. RGB-шка для моего ПК будет отдельная комната, а то не знали, что делать в одной комнате. Ого, ни хрена себе, Ромка, ну у тебя прям масштаб. Поэтому вот скоро приедут дядьки и будут ремонтировать, делать в комнате, где ПК будет стоять. Ромка, ну это очень круто. Инстаграм свой скинь и фоточку туда закинь, я посмотрю. Там будет просто игровая комната, не в смысле для ребенка, а для ПК. Я понял. Поп-ит, нет, кокпит. Купишь или нет это для автосимулятора? Игровая зона.
Denver. Andrew, what more
Так, вы шаман? Откуда ты знаешь? Откуда ты знаешь, что я шаман? Я реально шаман и колдун в одном лице. Сейчас порчу на тебя наведу. Могу благословить за отдельный донат. То есть тебе надо что-то продать, ты мне донатишь. Я свою шаманскую тему задвигаю, короче, и тебя благословляю, ты завтра это продаешь или в течение недели. Хочешь попробовать? Так, это руль, PlayStation 5 останется. Окей, папа. Будет, если что, на нем играть. О, прикольно. Ну, я тоже себе такую хрень хочу. Мы уже купили BMW X5. О, прикольно. X5 это тема. Так, я боюсь. Не бойся. Все будет отлично. Тебе понравится. Ты хочешь что-то продать? Я чисто по продажам. Сбрасываешь донатик, говоришь, что хочешь продать. Я благословляю, и все, короче. Ты продаешь. Все просто.
Growing concern about the safety of America's food supply as federal officials issued a new public health alert for those who cross jalapenos and the food safety inspection are linked to a salmonella outbreak that has infected at least 345 people across 27 states, including Colorado and Minnesota, seeing the highest number of reported infections.
Донат. У вас это не молоток, это волшебная палка, которая творит чудеса. Мы можем проверить.
The USDA says there have not yet been any illnesses reported from meat and poultry products containing the affected jalapenos. Health officials say the outbreak traces to jalapeno peppers from Sinaloa, Mexico, distributed by Post Citrus distributors.
Короче, игровая будет классная. Ну, в Инстаграм, короче, скинь мне.
22,000 Americans have gotten sick from that parasitic stomach illness, cyclosporiasis. Many cases in 15 states tied to a deadly record outbreak linked to Taylor Farms iceberg lettuce from Mexico that's been voluntarily recalled.
Now, Lindsay, back to that jalapeno outbreak. The CDC says businesses should check their inventory for the recalled jalapenos and pull them off their shelves. Lindsay? All right, Melissa, thank you. Overseas now to the growing chaos in the Middle East. The Iran-backed Houthi rebels are now claiming responsibility for a strike on a Saudi oil facility. And mixed messaging tonight from Iran and the U.S. on a possible deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. News ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, with tensions in the Gulf region already at a high level, the Iran-backed Houthi rebels claiming responsibility for a deadly strike on a Saudi oil facility in the Yemeni Red Sea port of Mocha. And these seven people
Крючком убираю. Да, PDR, почитай в гугле. PDR.
further disrupt sea traffic in the
А
region.
потом зайди на стримчик и дальше что-то спрашивай. Давай, братишка, пройдись.
Negotiations are underway. In an interview with Axios, President Trump said the U.S. is, quote, semi-negotiating with Iran. We are low-keying it, he said. We're watching Iran with this huge inflation and the fact that they have no money. The back and forth following the weekend announcement that Iran is close to a deal with Oman to secure a route through part of the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran now making new demands on the U.S., including lifting the naval blockade and withdrawing American forces from around Iran. All of this now nearly 6 months into the war, and as U.S. stockpiles of munitions remain low. The Pentagon pressing defense manufacturers to rush production, telling them to submit plans to do so within the next few weeks. And in another blow to President Trump's efforts in the region, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejecting the U.S.-brokered Gaza peace deal, insisting Israel will not withdraw until Hamas disarms. Hamas has said it will not do so until the IDF withdraws, saying that it remains committed to President Trump's 15-point plan.
And Lindsay, both sides tonight appearing to hold firm, waiting for the other to take the first step. Lindsay.
And Marcus, while we have you, tell us about the latest U.S. efforts to broker peace in Ukraine.
Yes, right. A lot going on. The Russian state news agency TASS is reporting that President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and envoy Steve Witkoff may visit Moscow soon. And such a visit has been rumored for weeks. And it comes as both sides appear to be intensifying their missile and drone attacks on each other. Ukraine managing to hit energy facilities and warehouses deep inside. One target is Amazon's Russian equivalent wild berries, and Russia suffering heavy losses on the battlefield as well. And Lindsay, there is word tonight from Ukraine's President Zelensky that he believes another 50,000 North Korean troops will soon be deployed to fight alongside Russia in Ukraine. Lindsay.
All right, Marcus, thank you. An Ohio congressman is ignoring calls to drop his bid for re-election as his domestic abuse allegations have rocked his campaign, triggering a family feud. Max Miller has vehemently denied the allegations, and the deadline for him to drop out of the race has now passed. Here's ABC's Stephen Portnoy.
Tonight, sources say Ohio Republican Max Miller is determined to fight on, despite allegations he denies of abuse leveled against him by his ex-wife and 2 other women. Up against a Monday deadline to take his name off the ballot, the Cleveland area congressman shrugs off a growing number of calls to drop out. Calls led by Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, the father of Miller's ex-wife.
There's no chance that I'm removing myself from this race.
Sources say President Trump called Miller last week, concerned his continued candidacy could put a safe Republican seat in play.
The allegations against him are terrible, and if he's endangering a seat in Congress as we're trying to keep the majority in the House, and he should drop out if he's endangering that seat.
As concerned as top Republicans may be about Miller's seat in the House, they're hopeful they can flip a Senate seat in Michigan. Last week, progressive Democrat Abdul Al-Sayed defeated a moderate candidate who had been backed by the party's establishment. After a string of key victories by progressives, more primaries on Tuesday will put the party's future to the test.
We understand that our priority is the working class of this country, and we have to make the case that we're here to make people's lives better.
Democrats aiming to unite ahead of November as the GOP seeks to paint them as extremists.
Все, короче, нужно ускоряться, ребят. Работы много. Ромка, давай, удачи. Тебе надо идти, а мне надо работать. Заходи на мой стримчик. Короче, развлекайся, пока есть возможность.
Saying woke one was crazy.
In that interview on ABC's This Week, AOC said some of the things she and her fellow progressives may have called for in the past, like defunding the police, is, quote, not rhetoric that we would use today. Lindsay?
All right, Stephen, thank you. Now we have another Verizon outage. This one is hitting Los Angeles and other parts of Southern California. According to Verizon, this disruption is related to vandalism involving multiple cuts to fiber lines. This follows a power outage for thousands of customers in the U.S. on Saturday. The company did not provide a reason for that outage. There's so much more ahead on World News tonight this Sunday, including a dramatic rescue of a man who fell 30 feet from a cliff. And we remember Don Nelson, who had a legendary career as an NBA player, then as a coach, and the massive explosion that shut down a busy interstate for hours. Next tonight, an update on a disturbing case of a black woman found hanging in a tree in Mississippi. An alleged person of interest in the death investigation of Tasia Fortune is now under arrest on an unrelated charge of a felony in possession of a firearm. Terrence Anderson has denied any involvement with her death, but told police he had argued with her, which was in a tree on Monday. Tonight, there's new video of the mission along the California coast. The Sonoma County Sheriff says a person had fallen from a cliff onto rocks 30 feet below. First responders put the victim on a stretcher and hoisted him to a helicopter and then to a trauma center for treatment. The sheriff credits bystanders with placing a makeshift splint on the victim's leg before emergency crews arrived. Also in California, a major freeway was shut down for hours after a massive explosion and fire. Flames and thick black smoke shot high in the air on Highway 99 in Selma on Saturday. Police say a tanker carrying more than 8,000 gallons of fuel sideswiped a box truck, triggering that explosion. Remarkably, both drivers escaped with just minor injuries. When we come back, another billion-dollar movie, Spider-Man, big boost for the box office. To the index, tonight we're remembering Don Nelson, a basketball Hall of Famer. As a player, he won 5 NBA titles with the Boston Celtics and retired his number 19 season. As a coach, Nelson was known for his up-tempo offense, winning more than 1,300 games, the second most of all time. One of his former teams, the Golden State Warriors, announced his death today. Don Nelson was 86 years old. Next, the Powerball jackpot is up to a whopping $905 million. That's the 8th largest in the game's history, with a cash value of about $391 million. Not so bad. No one took the grand prize in Saturday's drawing. In fact, there hasn't been a winner since early May. The next drawing is Monday night. And moviegoers, they keep getting drawn into Spider-Man's web. In just 12 days, Spider-Man Brand New Day has earned nearly $1.7 billion worldwide. That makes it the 12th highest grossing film of all time. Let's put it this way. In its second weekend, it took in more than The Odyssey, Michael, and Project Hail Mary made in their opening weekends. When we come back, how do you thank people who saved your life? You have to see what one artist drew up. Finally tonight, America Strong and a picture of gratitude.
That's you, right there.
A hand-drawn thank you from a man who knows a thing or two about drawing heroes. Oscar-winning Disney animator Glenn Keane returned to Phoenix Friday, reuniting with the first responders who rescued him from Mummy Mountain in Paradise Valley, Arizona last month. The 72-year-old had reached the summit in triple-digit heat when he realized he didn't have the strength to make it back down.
I had just spent all of my energy.
The rescue crew eventually lifted him to safety. This week, the legendary animator behind classics like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin returned with a drawing of a very different kind of adventure, his own rescue.
I was thinking, oh, maybe I should draw Aladdin flying here or something. I said, no, this is not about me. This is, you guys are part of the heroes.
Keane says he thought his wife would tease him about the ordeal, but she wasn't laughing.
She was actually in tears. So thankful, so thankful.
Once Keane got home, he knew he had to go back, not to draw a hero, but to thank them.
I felt like I really needed to say thank you, to what you guys did. Thank you, all of you.
And thank you for watching. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted and most watched newscast in America. And now, World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 4th year in a row.
Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. The stage is set for the White House talks on the war in Ukraine, and late word on who's joining the negotiations. A monster storm will impact millions on the East Coast, and a mass shooting in New York City. We're going to begin with the Ukraine peace talks. NATO and European leaders now plan to join Ukraine's president Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House tomorrow. President Trump saying there's big progress and urging Americans to stay tuned. His special envoy claiming Russian President Vladimir Putin made a key concession. What this could mean for Ukraine's security as Zelensky demands an immediate ceasefire. Reports tonight from Ukraine and Washington. Hurricane Erin expected to intensify once again in the Atlantic. Millions on the East Coast could be impacted by waves topping 12 feet and dangerous rip currents. New Hampshire's lifeguards already making more than 140 rescues in 1 week. And the Midwest facing more severe storms. Giant hail reported and parts of Wisconsin flooded. Our weather team standing by to time it all out. The mass shooting at a New York City restaurant. They killed 9 injured. Survivors rushed to hospitals. Tonight, the manhunt for the suspects. Hundreds more National Guard troops are being deployed to the nation's capital. They're being sent to join the Trump administration's crackdown on crime. But protests are growing, and a key Senate Democrat calls the deployment an abuse of power. Air Canada flights remain grounded, while many flight attendants are defying a government order to return to work, leaving up to 100,000 passengers stranded. 2 American tourists drowned at a new resort in the Bahamas. What we're learning as authorities investigate. A major freeway shut down for hours after a truck carrying 8 Teslas burst into flames. The lithium-ion batteries sending toxic smoke high into the air. You remember Terrence Stamp, the British actor known for playing Hollywood's villains. And America Strong from Venice Beach to Virginia Beach. She skated across the U.S. for special purpose.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, and it's good to have you with us on this Sunday. I'm Rachel Scott in for Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with yet another high-stakes meeting on the war in Ukraine. European and NATO leaders are now set to join President Zelensky for a face-to-face meeting with President Trump at the White House tomorrow. The Trump administration now saying both sides need to make concessions to end the war in Ukraine. All this just days after that historic meeting in Alaska between the U.S. and Russia led to no agreement and produced even more questions than answers. Russia continuing its attacks on Ukraine, launching dozens of drones into the region this weekend. ABC's Ian Panel has been covering this conflict for nearly 4 years. They lead us off tonight from Ukraine.
Tonight, in a show of force, European and NATO leaders announcing that they'll be by Ukrainian President Zelensky's side at tomorrow's meeting with President Trump.
Our position is clear. International borders cannot be changed by force. These are decisions to be made by Ukraine and Ukraine alone.
On the heels of the summit between Trump and Putin, where no clear agreement was reached, President Zelensky today doubling down on his demands for a ceasefire.
So it's necessary to cease fire and work quickly on a final deal. We'll talk about it in Washington. Putin does not want to stop the killing, but he must do it.
Despite talking peace, no signs Russia is slowing down its assault on Ukraine. More Russian attacks tonight. And overnight, Ukraine's air defense intercepting a barrage of Russian missiles and drones across eastern Ukraine. Zelensky rejecting Russian demands to give them even more land.
The constitution of Ukraine makes it impossible to give up territory or trade land.
Russia occupies 20% of Ukraine's territory. Sources telling ABC News during the summit, Putin demanded Ukraine give up the Donetsk region in exchange for halting offensives elsewhere and further attacks. Today, Zelensky said those discussions can only happen with Ukraine at the table.
So far, Russia gives no sign that trilateral will happen, and if Russia refuses, then new sanctions must follow.
Ahead of tomorrow's meeting, Trump writing on social media, big progress on Russia, stay tuned. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who is in the talks, saying the
Всем привет, как дела? Как настроение? Сейчас на горячий клей перепрыгиваем.
That the United States could offer Article 5-like protection, which is one of the real reasons why Ukraine wants to be in NATO.
But Secretary of State Marco Rubio telling ABC News that a peace agreement is still far off.
You can't have a peace agreement unless both sides make concessions. If not, it's just called surrender, and neither side is going to surrender. So both sides are going to have to make concessions.
Rachel, tomorrow's meeting is critical for Ukraine. European leaders rallying to protect Ukraine's Zelensky and have to persuade President Trump to toughen his position on Russia. Rachel?
All right, Ian, thank you. So let's bring in ABC's Alex Frichet, who was at the White House where that meeting will be tomorrow. Alex, all of this came together very quickly.
That's right, Rachel. It came together incredibly quickly. President Trump on the phone with NATO leaders as he was headed back from that summit in Alaska. And if you remember, the last time that Zelensky was in the Oval Office, it turned into a shouting match. But tomorrow, he will be supported by French President Emmanuel Macron, UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the German Chancellor, the head of the EU, and NATO's Secretary General. Macron today questioned if Russia truly wants lasting peace, saying if we are weak today with Russia, we prepare the wars of tomorrow. The Trump administration right now is pursuing a peace agreement and is hoping to move forward with that through a trilateral meeting between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. But Rachel, a lot of that depends on how tomorrow goes. Rachel?
It certainly does. All right, Alex Frichet, reporting from the White House tonight. Alex, thank you. We turn now to the weather and the storm slamming the Midwest. Severe storms dumping heavy rain in the Chicago area overnight, flooding roads, stranding drivers, and leaving thousands without power. Hail and gusty winds also battered parts of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Here's meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station, WABC.
Strong wind, heavy rain, and flash flooding taking aim at the Midwest tonight. From Iowa to Minnesota and Wisconsin, powerful storms downing trees and power lines. More rain in Milwaukee as they continue to recover from historic flooding just a week ago. That system, the back end of the front, keeping a strengthening Hurricane Aaron away from the East Coast. Aaron, now a Category 3, a slow-moving storm inching forward in the Atlantic. Hurricane hunters capturing this as it brushed past the Caribbean. This drone video out of Puerto Rico shows massive waves pounding the shoreline, even as the hurricane is downgraded from an intense Category 5 to a Cat 3.
North Carolina declaring a state of emergency for Dare County and a mandatory evacuation of Hatteras Island.
The first major storm in the Atlantic, bringing dangerous surf from Florida to Maine, waves up to 12 feet expected in some places. And with recent drownings along the East Coast, lifeguards are already on alert. In St. Augustine, Florida, strong tidal currents sweeping a swimmer nearly 3/4 of a mile offshore, forcing first responders into a dramatic rescue. And in New Hampshire, more than 140 people were rescued last week as a far weaker storm caused rough waves and choppy seas.
And Danny joins us now. Danny, you're also tracking Hurricane Aaron gaining strength across the Atlantic tonight.
Yeah, we're starting with Aaron, still a major Category 3 hurricane, Rachel, with max sustained wind moving steady at 125 miles per hour. Re-strengthening is expected as the track turns north. Tropical storm warnings in effect for Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas tonight. That northern turn expected to start tomorrow as the major hurricane rides north just off the east coast. The cold front should act as a buffer from direct U.S. impact, but rough surf and rip currents still bring significant danger starting tomorrow in the southeast, midweek in the mid-Atlantic, and through the end of the week in the northeast. As for tonight's severe weather threat, the upper Midwest and parts of the plains still in the bullseye with flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts possible through tomorrow morning.
All right, Danny, tracking it all for us. Danny, thank you. We turn now to a terrifying scene in New York. 3 people are dead and 9 others injured. Police say it appears that several people fired shots inside a crowded restaurant overnight. Dozens of shell casings were recovered at the scene. Police are now searching for the suspects. Here's ABC's Olivia Rubin.
An urgent manhunt tonight for multiple suspects police say opened fire in a Brooklyn restaurant, killing 3 and injuring 9 others. Police swarming Taste of the City Lounge around 3 a.m. after calls of a chaotic scene started coming in. Officials say a dispute inside escalated, leaving multiple people wounded by several shooters. Investigators sifting through evidence at the scene today, saying they recovered a gun nearby and dozens of shell casings inside that lounge.
Our job now is to determine who is responsible and to hold them accountable.
Today's incident comes amid a record low in gun violence. The NYPD saying there were 264 shootings and 112 murders from January to May of this year, the lowest ever recorded for that period.
Thankfully, tonight, officials say those 9 injured victims are being treated in the hospital, all of them with non-life-threatening injuries. Rachel.
Olivia, thank you. Next tonight, more National Guard troops are heading to Washington, D.C. West Virginia is expected to send troops soon. 2 other Republican-led states, Ohio and South Carolina, may join them. It comes as President Trump is cracking down on crime in the city, deploying 800 National Guard troops to the nation's capital. But city leaders and others are now pushing back. Here's ABC's Lola.
Tonight, a significant escalation on the streets of the nation's capital. 350 more citizen soldiers expected to arrive from West Virginia in the coming days, bringing the number of National Guard members to 1,126. On the streets today, mixed sentiment about the mission.
I think it's pretty ridiculous, honestly. I think it's good. I feel safe.
2 other Republican-led states, Ohio and South Carolina, also offering to send troops. Democrats calling it a manufactured crisis.
Crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low and a downward trajectory. So this is all an opportunity for Donald Trump to play dictator in Washington, D.C.
And this weekend, hundreds taking the streets to protest. Some residents shouting at officers making stops. Federal marshals, members of the ATF, as well as ICE also assisting D.C. police. The city's mayor in a letter to residents vowing to defend Washington, D.C.'s autonomy.
What we want to do is make sure that this federal surge is useful to us. And that's what the chief has been very, very good and working with the federal leadership in accomplishing.
That police chief secure in her job, at least for now. On Friday, the DOJ agreed to scale back efforts to take over the city's police force after a federal judge raised concerns.
A hostile takeover of our police force is not going to happen.
Well, Rachel, up to this point, troops here in Washington have been unarmed, but officials say that could change in the coming days. In past deployments ordered by President Trump, National Guard troops have, in fact, carried their weapons, Rachel.
All right, Mola, thank you. We turn now to the travel chaos in Canada. Air Canada is now scrapping plans to resume flights today after flight attendants defied an order from the government to end the strike and return to work. So let's bring in ABC's Melissa and Don. Melissa, what more are you learning about when those flights are going to resume?
Yes, Rachel. So Air Canada yet again suspending those flights today, and all of this despite the Canadian government ordering the flight attendants on strike to return to work. Well, look, Air Canada is now saying that the union is defying an order from the Canada Industrial Relations Board to get back to work. The airline was expecting to restart limited operations today, but because the flight attendants remain on the picket lines, this forced the airline to suspend that plan. And Air Canada is the largest carrier in Canada, operating about 700 flights a day, and the impacts of this strike have been felt during this busy summer travel period, with tens of thousands of passengers stranded at airports after flight attendants walked off the job yesterday, all this following months of negotiations over a new contract. Now, Air Canada is advising all these passengers not to come to the airport unless you have a confirmed flight, but they do hope, Rachel, to resume their full operations tomorrow night.
And we'll see if that holds right, Melissa. Thank you. 2 cruise line passengers died in 2 separate drowning incidents at a new luxury resort in the Bahamas. Police say a man and a woman, both in their 70s, were found unresponsive on Friday. The new details just coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Ida Jachi.
Tragedy in paradise tonight after 2 American tourists drowned in separate incidents at Carnival Cruise Line's brand new $600 million private destination, Celebration Key. An urgent investigation underway after authorities say a 79-year-old man had become unresponsive while snorkeling at a beach. Then, hours later, a 74-year-old woman in the lagoon became unresponsive while swimming in a pool. Both were pulled from the water by a lifeguard, given CPR, but did not survive. In a statement, Carnival confirming the incidents and offering their thoughts and prayers to the guests who were sailing with their family. The $600 million luxury compound on the Grand Bahama that opened last month allows the cruise line's largest ships to dock, while passengers have exclusive access to the area.
Rachel, tonight Bahamian police are conducting autopsies. Carnival says they will cooperate and have trained lifeguards and medical professionals who respond promptly. Rachel?
All right, Ike, thank you. We turn now to the massive protests across Israel. Thousands taking to the streets today over the war in Gaza. This is the IDF prepares for a major assault on Gaza City. Let's bring in ABC's Marcus Moore. And Marcus, these protests are about the hostages.
Rachel, that's right. Tens of thousands demonstrating near Tel Aviv's Hostage Square tonight, calling for a deal. There have been reports of some clashes and dozens of arrests. And despite the public pressure, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains defiant, saying that there can be no end to this war until Hamas is defeated. All of this as the situation in Gaza remains dire. People are dying by the dozens every day, including some who are starving to death, according to the Hamas-run Gaza health ministry. In fact, tonight we have exclusive video that shows a glimpse of the chaos and danger some are facing to get food for their families. You see people ducking for cover as bullets whiz by. In another moment, new video shows people rushing aid trucks. Rachel, this is the whole so here listening to this story.
featuring President Jimmy Carter, who died last December at 100 years old. British actor Taylor Stanley died today. Received the Oscar Stan acted for 6 decades, but he may be best known for appearing as General Zod in the Superman. Finish line. You did it right. She ready to win. That was the flames of one. Walk away with something too. Thanks for watching. Good night.
As we come on the air, Vladimir Putin summit over Ukraine. Ukraine strengthens to a Category 5, potential threat to the East Coast. What was discussed at ending without a ceasefire as Russia continues attacks in Ukraine, plus the personal letter from First Lady Melania storm watches and warnings in the Caribbean. Facing dangerous rip currents, and the Midwest bracing for severe weather. Voting maps, hoping to pick up congressional seats. Every seat could be crucial with the balance of power razor thin. More troops on the way. West Virginia's governor is sending more than 300 National Guard Air Canada ground all its flights. Flight attendants walked off the job on strike, impacting more than 100,000 passengers. What it all means for travelers here in the U.S. Tonight, letters from a father sparking a viral movement online. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Wayne Johnson. In the Atlantic, the potential President Trump saying the best way to handle the escorting Putin's presidential jet from Alaska. We're also learning tonight that President Trump hand-delivered a letter to Putin from First Lady Melania Trump and a concern about children. President Zelensky posting on social media that he spoke with President Trump for about an hour today before European leaders joined the call. But tonight there are still more questions than answers about what it will take to bring peace to the region. ABC's Christiana Cordero leads us off from Alaska.
Tonight, President Trump is back in Washington preparing for his Monday meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky as new details emerge from his historic summit with Vladimir Putin.
Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
ABC News is learning that behind closed doors, Putin demanded full control of the Donetsk region of Ukraine in exchange for freezing the conflict. Trump shared Putin's comments with Zelensky and other European leaders in a phone call after the summit, sources tell ABC News. European leaders say Ukraine must have ironclad security guarantees and that it will be up to Ukraine to make decisions on its territory. Now, 24 hours after the high-stakes meeting, it's not clear what the two sides agreed to, if anything. After vowing to push Putin for an immediate ceasefire, Trump posted on social media overnight that the best way to end the war is to go directly to a peace agreement instead. Heading to Alaska, Trump also said he wanted Putin to agree to a joint meeting with Zelensky and warned of severe economic consequences if his demands were not met. But Moscow claims it wasn't brought up, and Trump says he's not planning any immediate sanctions.
The meeting was a very warm meeting. You know, he's a strong guy, he's tough as hell and all of that.
The lingering questions follow an extraordinary sight. After years as a global pariah, Putin stepping foot on U.S. soil. Welcomed with a red carpet, a heart and a military flyover. Inside the meeting, Putin asked by ABC's Rachel Scott about ongoing Russian attacks. After campaigning on his ability to broker a peace agreement, Trump now says it will be up to Ukraine to reach a deal with Putin.
I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit, but it's up to President Zelensky.
It raises the stakes for Monday, when Zelensky will return to the White House since his 10th visit in February that broke down into a shouting match. So many questions about what was discussed during this meeting, but what we're learning tonight, President Trump hand-delivered a letter to Putin from First Lady Melania Trump, raising concerns about Ukrainian children kidnapped during this war.
Another layer in all of this, Christian, thanks. Meantime, Russia continuing its attacks on Ukraine before and during the summit in Alaska. Ukrainian officials saying Russians struck with a barrage of drone attacks and bombs. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell, who has covered this war for more than 3 years, back in Ukraine again tonight.
While President Trump was rolling out the red carpet, Putin's military was again bombing Ukraine. Glide bombs and drone attacks were reported across the country. On the front lines, Putin's forces trying to advance. Seen here in this undated video released today by the Russian Ministry of Defense. Relentless attacks this week, just the latest that have stretched Ukrainian units thin as they try to fend off Russian assaults using drones to target military vehicles. Ukraine wasn't invited to the summit in Alaska, but it must deal with the consequences. No ceasefire, no trilateral meeting, and no severe consequences for Russia. Russia occupying 20% of Ukraine's territory. Sources telling ABC News during the summit, Putin demanded Ukraine give up the Donetsk region in exchange for stopping offensives elsewhere and agreeing to halt further attacks. The sources saying Trump relaying that message to Zelensky and European leaders. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev posting that President Trump refused to escalate pressure on Putin. European leaders and Zelensky insisting that pressure must be kept on Russia and that Ukraine shouldn't be forced to hand over any of its land. Today, the key independent newspaper calling the summit sickening, shameful, and in the end, useless. Hannah says, to put a red carpet in front of a man who's destroying my country, I don't know what to say.
Where President Zelensky said in a statement after the summit that when speaking to President Trump, he asked for stronger sanctions, adding security must be guaranteed, with both the US and Europe involved. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has been effectively freed from international isolation, but for now at least, Ukrainians must continue to live in a state of fear and war. With
Ian Pannell reporting tonight. We appreciate it. And tune into This Week tomorrow morning. Martha Raddatz will have much more on what happens next after the Trump-Putin summit with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Now to the major weather threat. Hurricane Erin rapidly intensifying to a Category 5 storm. It's packing sustained winds of 160 miles per hour as it churns over the Atlantic. The first major hurricane of the season, and it could get even stronger by tomorrow morning. Let's bring in meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. And Danny, you're tracking Erin and potential flooding in the Midwest.
That's right. With a major Category 5, fluctuations in strength are expected, with new tropical storm watches now issued for Turks and Caicos, joining St. Martin and St. Bart's. Right now, Erin passing just north of Anguilla, with the outer bands dropping heavy rain in the northern Leeward Islands. Rough surf and flooding downpours will be the main impacts to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as Erin tracks west tomorrow. The northern turn forecast for Monday, with modeling still keeping Erin offshore of the U.S. And while the strength of the storm should weaken as it moves north, the size of the storm will grow, sending rough surf and rip currents up the East Coast with 8 to 12 foot waves off the Carolinas by Wednesday, making water conditions dangerous and contributing to coastal erosion into New England by Thursday. The front that should keep Erin in the Atlantic next week brings severe storms and a flood threat to the upper Midwest tonight, the same areas impacted hard last weekend. Whit?
All right, we'll be watching it, Danny. Thanks so much. Millions, meantime, are bracing for life-threatening rip currents and that dangerous surf in the U.S. Red flag warnings posted on beaches in Puerto Rico. Erin's outer bands could bring heavy rain to parts of the Caribbean, triggering flash flooding and landslides. And it comes as the summer has already been deadly at American beaches. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, hurricane hunters in the center of Erin's powerful eyewall. The now monster Category 5 storm tears through the Caribbean tonight. Millions bracing for dangerous rip currents from Florida to Maine. The first major hurricane in the Atlantic this season exploded first in strength. Now expected to triple in size by next week. And even though it's not expected to make landfall on the U.S., waves could be at least 12 feet high. Along the coast of Virginia, officials urging caution and preparing for the worst. Crews on standby and clearing storm drains. In Massachusetts, lifeguards on alert.
We're looking to see some rip currents. We've heard anywhere from 8 to 10 feet on any given day next week.
Officials asking beachgoers to listen to the warnings. It's been a deadly summer on American shores. A 13-year-old girl pulled under rough surf off the Jersey shore. She's the second person to drown in the same area just this week. On Monday, a 31-year-old man died trying to save family members swept out in Seaside Heights. A dozen people rescued just last weekend alone. Popular islands in the Caribbean feeling the impact. In Puerto Rico, many there met with strong winds and rough surf.
And while Erin isn't expected to make landfall in the U.S., the danger is far from over. Bermuda now bracing for a brush with this powerful system. And look, experts warn that this explosive storm could be a preview of what could be a long and active hurricane season.
Something to watch. Morgan, thanks. Now to the major airline strike impacting more than 100,000 travelers around the world. The Canadian government has ordered Air Canada's striking flight attendants back to work and into arbitration. The work stoppage coming during the peak summer travel season. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, Canada's government ordering Air Canada flight attendants to walk off the job
Сейчас подойду на минуточку.
back to work. Flight attendants on the picket line outside airport terminals in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver now calling for higher wages.
We can't use school beds. We can't live 12 to a house. We can't be sleeping in our cars anymore.
What the union says it's seeking a fair deal.
A new proposed map is targeting Democratic strongholds following charge from President Trump to flip 5 congressional seats Republican in next year's midterm. Democrats only need to pick up 3 seats to regain control of the House. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom is looking to counter what's happening in Texas with a plan of his own, calling for a special election to enact new maps that would help Democrats there flip 5 of the state's 9 remaining Republican districts and nullify what's happening in Texas. But ultimately, California voters will have the final say as to whether or not that happens. And other states can begin redistricting fights of their own based off of what happens in Texas and in California.
Wait, yeah, looks like this political fight is just getting started. Alex, thanks. West Virginia is deploying hundreds of National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. This is in response to a request by the White House. It comes as President Trump has declared a crime emergency in the nation's capital, deploying 800 National Guard troops. Protesters gathering outside the White House. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi reversed an order placing the head of the DEA in charge of the police force after an emergency hearing. Next tonight, the dramatic rescue of a hiker trapped behind a waterfall for 2 days in the California mountains. Authorities say the force of the water pushed him off his climbing lines. The 46-year-old was hiking with friends who decided to turn back. Here's ABC's Melissa Adam.
Tonight, search and rescue teams in California calling this a stunning survival story after a hiker was trapped for 2 days behind this waterfall. The Tulare County Sheriff's Office says 46-year-old Ryan Wardwell went hiking last weekend in the Sequoia National Forest with plans to rappel the waterfalls at 7 Teacups. Officials say Wardwell was last seen at the top of the falls, but never made it back to his car that night. Wardwell getting trapped after coming off of his rappel lines and got caught in the river's hydraulics. Days later, on Tuesday morning, a drone used by the Tulare County Sheriff's Office search teams spotted Wardwell behind one of the waterfalls.
I had to be careful not to drag him through the waterfall.
California Highway Patrol flight officers and paramedics trained part of the rescue team that hoisted the hiker to safety.
Respect the mountains. It's beautiful, but it's dangerous, and you can die up there very easily.
The Tulare Sheriff's Department says that Wardwell is an experienced hiker who suffered minor injuries and dehydration.
And those rescuers getting there just in time. Melissa, thanks. The mayor of New Orleans, LaToya Cantrell, has been indicted, accused of criminal cover-up to hide an alleged affair with a police officer assigned to protect her. Let's bring in ABC's Perry Russell. And Perry, what more are you learning tonight?
Yeah, when according to an indictment, the mayor is accused of trying to cover up a relationship with her bodyguard. Prosecutors say past year money was used.
Доброе утро. Я здесь
And wine tasting
на
in
кухне
Napa
готовлю
Valley.
завтрак.
This is the result of years-long investigation.
Завтра будет 6 утра. Понятно.
Prosecutors say in all her
Okay, hello, Lee.
70,000
How was you, what did you do yesterday? And what will have breakfast? Which will do it. Не знаю, правильно сказал? Нет, сейчас чуть тише сделаю.
And a shocking video of a brazen robbery, $2 million worth of jewelry gone in less than 2 minutes. Next.
What's your favorite breakfast? The more eat every day. What do you like eat breakfast? I will send you my eat витамин, ну вроде бы так и будет. For sport. It is good for. Так, я собираю 6 овсянку, яйца, кофе, йогурт. It's good breakfast for health. Yeah, I eat the worse than you. I don't care. Then I have breakfast. I eat everything, and sweets too. Do you remember? Then if I eat sweet a bit, I will lose weight. but I like it. I cannot get in myself. Блин, я не хотел сказать, я не могу себе в руках держать. Сладкое ем, короче. Then you go to work, yeah? I heard in your news in LA about murder Tupac. Ты еще молод, я должен следить за тем, что ем. Yeah, I agree with you, but I think I must too have control about my eat. Yeah. Murder Tupac come from Spring? Не, сейчас, не Spring. Prison. From prison, yeah? Murder. It's true? Ну, если Тупака 30 лет, да. Yeah. I know the more news in LA than in Ukraine. Because this сейчас tense interesting for me. The more interesting for me. If you wanna, I will send message your near my video, maybe stream about edit it for health. Я знаю больше новостей в Украине. You too? I know the more in USA. Yeah, in Ukraine I know a bit news. Do you understand? Then I will tell. То есть I told. I sent you about vitamin, creatine, glutamine. Understand? It is good mix for health, but it is not very big. It is main. Yeah. Thank you, Альбина 800. Спасибо, Альбина 888 за лайкос. oh, it is good idea, but in YouTube has many coach the better than I not I not coach. I just a man who's try will be the new version your my own, yeah. But сейчас делиться, я забыл. Сейчас плохо мозг работает, мало спал сегодня. Так. Окей. Сейчас. I will send you my mix eat for health. Then I think and I asked my doctor and one professional sportsman. Then mix it is main. все веселее. Антон, я думал, ты ушел. Так, увидимся на ваших тренировках. Сейчас позавтракаем, мой хороший друг. Жак. Женя. Просто Женя. А то Жак, я не француз. Да. Я решил дать французское имя. Жак. Я посмотрю, что оно означает. Я так быстро не соглашаюсь. А ты меня еще назвал по-своему. И ты мне решил дать имя. Ну, нормально. Еще за меня, короче, паспорт сделать. Я понял. Ну ладно, в общем, сценический образ, пусть у каждого у меня будет разный. Ну, мой сценический образ. Окей, пусть будет так. Something like that. Time will show. Все впереди еще, ребят. Мне, в принципе, все равно. Так, под псевдонимом. Ха! Ну да, смешно. Смешно. Слушай, если что, просто Женя, этого достаточно. Все, можем на этом остановиться. Да, конечно, YouTube. Такая вещь интересная. Хрен знает, что от людей ожидаешь. Переходим к тяжелой артиллерии. Увидимся через некоторое время. Чао. Чао, какао. Я давно не слышал слова чао, ну, интересно. Так, Жека, хорошего тебе стрима. Ушел, а на фоне что-нибудь все-таки включи, народ подтянется. Да я понял. Я сейчас буду заканчивать. Я сегодня спал где-то часика 4, но я реально чувствую, я отключаюсь. Дальше, да хотя бы час поспать, чтобы нормально этот. Короче, позже подойду и тогда все будет. А сейчас перезагружусь. Все, короче, всем хорошего дня, увидимся позже. Не забывайте заходить на ресурсы Факт, это мировой канал с мировым чуваком. Теперь этому мировому чуваку нужно немного перезагрузиться, а поможет ему в этом сон.